Tachio is still grinding long after office hours, desperately rushing to finish his tasks before the last train departs. He'd planned to visit a cat cafe before heading home, but this sudden mountain of work ruined his schedule. As a 28-year-old salaryman, Tachio is reaching his breaking point due to constant delays and forced overtime. To cope with the stress, he's developed a habit of visiting cat cafes to find peace among his fluffy friends. He finally finishes his tasks with only a few minutes left to catch his ride. Tachio sprints through a shortcut, pushing his body to the limit to arrive at the station on time. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto a stray cat wandering nearby. Seeing the feline usually brings him an immediate sense of luck and happiness. But his heart sinks when the cat steps directly onto a busy crosswalk. At that exact moment, a truck barrels toward the animal at a lethal speed. Tachio doesn't hesitate for a single second, throwing himself into the path of danger to save the cat. He manages to push the cat to safety, but he pays the ultimate price, losing his life in the brutal collision. After a brief moment of darkness, Tachio's consciousness begins to drift back. He wakes up in a mysterious house, greeted by the sight of a warm, cozy table. He realizes he's definitely not in a hospital, and his confusion peaks when a cat emerges from the table. It's the very same cat he just sacrificed his life to save. Tachio is overwhelmed with relief to see that the little creature is alive and well. However, the cat suddenly begins to float in mid-air, a halo appearing above its head as it smiles at him. The feline speaks, offering deep words of gratitude to Tachio for his heroic act. Tachio stands there in total shock, completely unable to process this supernatural turn of events. The feline reveals she is actually a cat god, and though she didn't technically need saving, she deeply appreciates Teki's selfless sacrifice. Teki finds the situation impossible to believe, especially the part about his own death, but the cat god confirms the grim reality. She explains that she chose to meet him in the afterlife because she heard of his legendary devotion to cats from the strays he once cared for. Teki is moved to learn that his love for felines has reached the ears of the highest authority in the cat kingdom. Unable to watch such a gentle soul perish, the cat god offers him a second chance in another world, leaving Teki momentarily stunned. She clarifies that he will be reincarnated into a realm entirely different from Earth. Teki worries his lack of stamina will make survival impossible, but the cat god reassures him, promising to bestow him with the strength to thrive. Relieved, Teki accepts the divine offer, and the goddess asks him what kind of life he wishes to lead in this new world. She suggests he could become a hero wielding swords and magic, or perhaps something else entirely, prompting Teki to think deeply. He has no desire for violent combat or shady work, yet he refuses to live a life of idleness. After weighing his options for this second life, Teki finally lands on a brilliant idea. He will open his very own cat cafe in the fantasy world. The cat god is moved to tears by Teki's unwavering devotion to her species. To support his dream, she decides to grant him special abilities specifically designed to help him run his cafe. She bestows upon him the Tamer class, a powerful vocation that allows him to tame and command monsters. This way, Teki can recruit cat-like monsters, ensuring his cafe is filled with the fluffiest creatures imaginable. Thrilled at the prospect of taming adorable beasts, Teki enthusiastically accepts his new role as a Tamer. The goddess grants him every Tamer-related skill and explains how to check his stats with a simple command, earning her Teki's heartfelt thanks. Next, she presents him with a seemingly ordinary bag. When Teki peers inside, he realizes the interior defies all logic and expectations. The cat god explains that this is a magic bag, a legendary item capable of holding an infinite number of treasures. Time stands still inside that bag to preserve its contents, which she fills with food, money, and every essential he might need. As Teki inspects the bag, a digital inventory window suddenly manifests, catching him completely off guard. He sifts through the rations, jerky, black bread, and water, before asking the cat god about the culinary standards of the other world. She explains that the flavors are similar to Japan, even with monster meat involved, though the culinary variety is unfortunately lacking. This realization sparks a brilliant idea in her mind. She grants Teki a set of specialized skills, and after receiving this massive power-up, he offers his sincere thanks. With everything in place, she prepares the ritual to transport him to the new realm. She expresses her gratitude one last time, thanking Teki for saving her life back then. He offers a warm smile, genuinely relieved to see her safe and sound at last. Moments later, a flash of light consumes Teki as he is teleported into another world. To his surprise, he finds himself standing in the heart of a massive, dense forest. He reflects on his meeting with the cat god, realizing he is now in a world straight out of a high fantasy manga. His first priority is survival, so he begins strategizing, starting with his newly acquired Tamer skill. He feels a bit bashful about getting exactly what he wished for, but he's eager to see what he's truly capable of. Next, he summons his status window to get a full breakdown of his god-tier arsenal. He possesses over a dozen skills, including unique abilities for language, insight, and even shopping. But one title stands out above the rest. It is a passive ability known as the one loved by all fluffies. To his shock, every single one of these skills is already at its maximum level. This means he can tame legendary beasts like dragons with ease. But suddenly, a massive shadow looms over him. He looks up to find a colossal dragon, 20 times his size, bearing its ferocious claws and horns. The dragon locks its gaze onto Taki, marking him as its next meal. Driven by pure instinct, Taki's only thought is to run. The dragon unleashes a torrent of fire, forcing him to sprint for his life. Panic sets in, but he wonders if his taming skill would work, though a dragon isn't exactly the fluffy mascot he wanted for his cafe. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms from behind the beast. A second predator emerges, crushing the dragon's neck in a single lethal bite. Taki watches in sheer disbelief as the titan falls in an instant. But the victory is short-lived, as the new beast senses Taki's presence. It lunges forward, charging at him with predatory intent. Cornered and desperate, Taki realizes he has no other choice. He immediately activates his taming skill on the massive wolf-like creature. In this life-or-death moment, he recalls his past, a soul-crushing grind at a black company. His only escape back then was his visits to the cat cafe. He found his only relief by playing with the fluffy cats there. Feeding them and spending every precious second in their company was his only source of joy. His phone was filled with adorable cat photos, a digital sanctuary of pure cuteness. Because of his genuine love, he eventually became a favorite among the felines. This earned him a reputation as a true master among the cats. That former life is what fuels his dream, to own a peaceful, fluffy cafe of his own. But right now, his current reality is taking a very different turn. He successfully tames a massive, fluffy wolf-like beast standing over 2 meters tall. Tsuyoshi wonders if the contract will actually hold since he only used premium meat as bait. He then remembers his converse skill, realizing he can finally communicate with the creature. Suddenly, the dangerous beast roars in disbelief, stunned that he was tamed so effortlessly. This legendary Fenrir never imagined he would ever follow a human tamer, leaving Tsuyoshi bewildered by his thoughts but glad they can talk. The Fenrir grumbles about slaying a dragon in one shot only to be tamed by a human, while Tsuyoshi offers a nervous, awkward smile. A terrifying thought enters his mind. Would he even be safe if he tried to undo the taming now? His attention is suddenly drawn to the Fenrir's massive swaying tail. He watches it wagging vigorously, mesmerized by how incredibly soft and fluffy it looks. Thankful for the encounter, Tsuyoshi offers a prayer to the goddess before formally asking the Fenrir to become his familiar. The Fenrir asks if he truly wants a legendary lone warrior as a companion, and Tsuyoshi gives a firm confirmation. Observing how weak the human appears, the Fenrir quickly makes a decision. He decides to stay, fearing Tsuyoshi would become monster bait without him, and the relieved Tamer finally introduces himself. The Fenrir then demands that Tsuyoshi grant him a proper name. Since monsters are naturally nameless, the Fenrir explains that providing a name is common sense for any tamer. Tsuyoshi admits he didn't know the rules and thanks the Fenrir for the lesson, noting this is his very first familiar. The Fenrir is shocked that his master is a complete novice, but he still demands a name nonetheless. Tsuyoshi begins brainstorming, realizing he can't give a legendary lone warrior a simple, cutesy name. After a moment of deep deliberation, the perfect name finally strikes him. He looks at the mighty Fenrir and officially names him Fel. Taishi explains that the name Luke signifies light, a fitting title given the wolf's radiant and shimmering coat. Luke gazes down at his own plush white fur. He beams with pride, clearly approving of the name, while Taishi finds the reaction incredibly adorable. The Fenrir officially accepts his new identity, realizing Luke is the perfect mantle for a legendary beast like himself. Taishi formally asks Luke to look after him as they begin their journey together. When Taishi reaches out to stroke the wolf, his hand completely vanishes into the thick, luxurious coat. The incredible softness catches him completely off guard. Taishi has never felt anything this fluffy, making Luke the ultimate first familiar. Now let's dive into the lore of this mysterious world. This forest sits southeast of the city of Luram in the kingdom of Shulkuk, sealed by a massive barrier to contain the lethal monsters within. Legions of mages have layered multiple enchantments here to prevent a catastrophe by keeping these beasts trapped. On the rare occasion a high-level monster breaches the seal, elite adventurers are immediately dispatched to neutralize the threat. However, some entities possess power so immense that no magical barrier can truly restrain them. Take the legendary Fenrir, for instance, a proud, solitary warrior so rare that he exists only in ancient myths. Before his fateful encounter with Taishi, Luke spent his days wandering the sun-drenched forest in total isolation. Whenever he approached the local watering holes to drink, Every other monster would instantly flee in absolute terror. His overwhelming presence and godlike power made him a living nightmare for the inhabitants of the forest's deepest reaches. Eventually, Luke grew accustomed to this crushing loneliness. He embraced his status as the lone warrior Fenrir while bathing in the secluded forest waters. He emerges from the water and shakes himself dry. Catching his reflection, Luke admires his own dashing looks, perfectly content in his own company. Suddenly, his stomach growls, signaling that it's finally time to hunt. Today, he has a specific craving. He wants to feast on a dragon. With his target in mind, he leaps through the canopy, prowling the branches in total silence. He recalls rumors of human culinary skills making food delicious, though he never expected to try such meals himself. Finally, Luke's sharp eyes lock onto a target. A massive dragon appears, the perfect candidate for his midday meal. He lunges instantly, aiming a lethal strike straight for the dragon's throat. But in that exact moment, Luke senses a human presence nearby. The intrusion irritates him. He hates being disturbed while he's on the hunt. However, the situation takes a completely unexpected turn. In a shocking twist, Luke finds himself tamed by Taichi. He stands there in utter disbelief, unable to process how he was tamed so effortlessly. He realizes Taichi possesses a bizarre, powerful aura, a human far too dangerous to be left alone. Seeing Taichi's immense talent, Luke decides he doesn't actually mind serving as his familiar. His respect for his new master grows when he learns Taichi possesses the converse skill. Luke is genuinely impressed by this rare ability to communicate. Above all else, Taichi has officially piqued Luke's curiosity. For the first time in his life, someone didn't flee from him in terror. Taichi is 100 times better than those cowardly monsters. Luke eagerly anticipates receiving a proper name. This follows Taki's request for the beast to become his loyal familiar. Luke accepts and asks Taki to bestow a title upon him, leading the legendary lone warrior Fenrir to finally be dubbed Luke, though he's visibly annoyed as Taki won't stop stroking his fur. As a noble Fenrir and a creature of legend, he refuses to be treated like a common pet, forcing Taichi to apologize. Taichi expresses his desire to reach the city and asks for directions, which Luke confidently provides. However, Luke is baffled. How could a human not know the way to his own civilization? Taichi wonders if Luke would even believe the truth about his otherworldly origins, but he chooses to be transparent with his first familiar. He decides to come clean, telling Luke there is something important he needs to disclose. After laying out his entire situation to the legendary wolf, Luke finally grasps the reality, and all his previous confusion suddenly makes perfect sense. He informs Taichi that they are deep within a forest rarely seen by humans, protected by a powerful barrier. Given the immense dangers of the area, Taichi realizes he's dangerously under-equipped without any armor. It dawns on him that staying in this treacherous forest is a massive risk, making their arrival at the city an urgent priority. He tells Luke they need to move, but worries that a monster of Luke's massive size will cause a total panic. Luke isn't bothered at all, instantly shrinking his frame until he's smaller than a human. Taichi is ready to move out, but Luke suddenly tells him to wait. He hasn't even finished devouring the dragon he just hunted, so Taichi gives him the green light to feast. As Luke tears into the raw dragon meat, Taichi finds the savage sight surprisingly endearing. Suddenly, it clicks. Taichi remembers that he possesses a specialized cooking skill. He attempts to apply his skills to the dragon meat. However, he fails instantly, realizing he lacks vital ingredients like magic grass to craft a proper dragon steak. Luke is thrilled, urging Taichi to cook despite his beginner status, as rumors say food prepared with Tamer skills is legendary. Taichi confirms that a masterpiece steak is possible, provided they find that elusive magic grass. To track it down, Taichi activates his unique insight skill, uncovering rare items like magic grass and enchanted flowers. While Taichi gathers the herbs, Luke remains skeptical about why common grass is even necessary for a meal. Taichi gets to work, searing the dragon meat with the magic grass to create a high-tier dragon steak. At a single glance, the glistening dish looks absolutely mouth-watering. He offers the meal to Luke, who immediately dives in, captivated by the irresistible aroma. After taking his first massive bite, Luke falls into a stunned silence for several minutes. He finally erupts, declaring the food beyond delicious and infinitely better than eating raw meat. Luke savoring every bite of the dragon meat enhanced by the cooking skill. Before long, Luke completely clears his plate. He begs Taichi for another steak soon and offers up valuable dragon scales and claws to sell for a massive profit. Luke explains that even he understands the value of currency, knowing Taichi will need it to survive in this new world. Taichi gratefully accepts the materials, though he secretly wonders if these dragon parts will actually sell. Regardless, he stows the precious loot away into his magic bag. Taichi realizes his dreams are within reach, as he needs a fortune to finally open Cafe Fluffy. With his pockets potentially lined with gold, his next destination is the city. Subtachi tears through the forest at breakneck speeds while mounted on Luke's back. Luke constantly warns Taki to maintain a death grip so he doesn't fly off. Taki struggles to keep his balance as they blur past the dense tree line. This reminds him of their conversation 2 hours ago, when Luke claimed the trip would take most of the day. Despite trekking on foot for a significant amount of time, Taki realized his own sluggish pace was making zero progress toward the city. He eventually gave in to riding Luke, realizing the distance was far greater than he ever anticipated. Suddenly, Luke's instincts kick in and he alerts Taki to a monster lurking nearby. Without a second thought, he moves in to eliminate the threat. Luke lunges into the air, obliterating a massive avian monster with a single devastating strike. He then tells Taki to harvest the carcass, as its materials are worth a small fortune. They maintain this relentless pace, with Luke effortlessly crushing every beast that crosses their path. Following a brief period of rest, the duo finally arrives at the city gates as Luke announces their destination. This is Laura, the second largest metropolitan hub in the kingdom of Shulkuk. Taki is immediately overwhelmed by the sheer density of the bustling crowds. Looking toward the outskirts, he spots farmers diligently tending to their vast fields. The city is a peaceful fortress, protected by a massive garrison of soldiers and elite adventurers. Taki is thrilled, knowing this massive population is perfect for his dream cafe, though Luke mocks him for seeking a bed so soon. But just as they prepare to enter the gates, everything changes. The guard notes that Luke is an imposing wolf, questioning if the beast is dangerous. Taki assures him there's nothing to fear. Since Taki has tamed the creature, the guard sees no reason to object. He's willing to let Taki enter the city, but first he demands to see some identification. Taki is immediately stumped. His Japanese driver's license is useless here, and the soldier grows suspicious when he fails to produce a permit. Without an ID, Taki must pay a hefty 5,000 shell entry fee. He frantically checks his pockets for any currency. He sifts through the items the cat god provided and discovers a mysterious wallet. Inside, he finds 3 massive silver coins, though their actual value remains a mystery to him. He consults Luke, but the wolf is just as clueless about human currency. With no other choice, Taki is forced to ask the soldier for a price check. Playing it cool, he watches the soldier's reaction as the man's eyes widen at the sight of the silver. Taki offers a charming smile, asking if the silver will suffice for the fee. The guard nods eagerly and pulls out 5,000 shells in return. He hands over the change, revealing that a single large silver coin is worth a staggering 10,000 shells. Seizing the moment, Taki asks the soldier for a recommendation on a decent place to stay. The soldier directs him past the Adventurers Guild to the Crescent Moon Inn, where a night costs 4,000 shells and the food is top tier. Relieved, Taki realizes the exchange rate is simple. 1 shell is roughly equivalent to a single Japanese yen. He regroups with Luke to begin their journey into the city. Following the directions, he scouts the area for any vital intel before launching his new cafe business. As Taki explores the bustling streets, everything seems to be going smoothly. That is, until he realizes every single person is staring at them, terrified by the massive wolf at his side. Taichi observes the vibrant variety of shops, realizing he desperately needs new clothes, but Luke insists that proper equipment is the priority. Taichi counters that he needs a sturdy jacket after shivering on Luke's back the whole way here, though the wolf simply calls him fragile. Their journey soon brings them to the Crescent Moon Inn. To their surprise, the innkeeper flat out denies them entry, refusing to host a massive familiar like Luke. He bluntly tells Taichi to look elsewhere before slamming the door in his face. Taichi wonders about their next move, while Luke fumes, enraged that he's being denied a place to rest. Taichi decides to shift gears and search for work at the Adventurers Guild to fund their stay. However, on the way, a signboard for the Tamers Guild catches his eye. Taichi figures they might know of an inn that accommodates large familiars and decides it's worth investigating. He makes his way to the Tamers Guild, which looks like a perfectly ordinary building from the street. Taichi enters the building and calls out a greeting, but the main hall is shrouded in darkness and appears completely empty. Just as it seems the place is deserted, he receives a sudden welcome. A bright and cheerful receptionist named Shelty greets him. She approaches with a smile and asks if his familiar is a wolf king, but Taichi clarifies that Luke is actually a Fenrir. She laughs, claiming that's impossible since Fenrirs are legendary monsters not seen for centuries. Taichi is stunned to learn just how rare Luke is. He finally understands why the soldiers were so shocked, and why they also mistook Luke for a wolf king. Deciding not to argue, he explains he's a traveler from the countryside without an ID. Shelty informs him that a guild registration card serves as a valid ID. Relieved that his cover story worked, Taichi confirms that he would definitely like to register with the guild. Shelty produces a form and asks him to fill in his details to finalize the process. Taichi fills out his registration, listing his familiar, Luke, as a mere wolf king. This immediately irritates Luke, who demands to know why he's being downgraded. The proud Fenrir refuses to be lumped in with common monsters. Taichi explains that Fenrirs are legendary creatures, and revealing his true identity would cause a total uproar. Hearing this, Luke finally realizes just how legendary his presence truly is in this world. His ego swells instantly, and he boasts that if he's that legendary, then he'll accept the cover story for now. Shelty then instructs him to list his skills, though it's optional to keep secrets. She also encourages him to write down a personal goal. She mentions that many jobs will require his familiar to fight, and Taichi quickly grasps how the system works. He decides to list mundane skills like cooking while keeping his broken cheat abilities hidden from the public eye. He adds basic healing to the list, and for his ultimate goal, he writes down his dream, opening the Fluffy Cafe. Shelty is stunned to see recovery skills, as they are incredibly rare among even the most experienced tamers. When she asks about the cafe, Taichi claims he's a lover, not a fighter, and simply wants a peaceful life. He explains it won't be a normal shop. It'll be a sanctuary where customers can interact with the fluffiest monsters imaginable. Shelty looks completely baffled, making Taichi realize that the very concept of fluffiness doesn't even exist in this world yet. He vows to spread this gospel of fluff through his new business, certain that no one can resist the charm of a soft monster. Moments later, Shelty hands over his official adventurer's card, confirming his F-rank status within the Luram branch of the Tamer's Guild. She warns him that this card serves as his primary ID, making it a vital item he must never lose. To show him its true function, she instructs him to channel a small amount of mana into the card. As Taichi complies, the surface of the card glows, revealing his hidden personal details. Before he can show her, Shelty quickly looks away, reminding him that this private data is for his eyes only. This feature allows his official records to appear and disappear at will with just a touch of magic. Shelty explains that this secure data is used for high-level referrals, background checks, and proving one's absolute trustworthiness to clients. She assures him his privacy is safe, pointing him toward the request board to find work. Taki notices the board is flooded with mundane requests, treating tamers like glorified pet sitters. Claiming he's no fighter, Taki decides he'd rather save up and open a quiet cafe. Shelty finds it a tragic waste for a wolf tamer to avoid combat, but Taki refuses to gamble with his life. He then asks about lodging, explaining that most inns rejected him due to Luke's massive size. Fortunately, the guild offers rooms for a mere 2,000 shells a night, an offer Taki eagerly accepts. He books a room for 5 days, giving himself a tight deadline to secure a steady income. As Shelty leads him to his new quarters, they pass through a scenic area. Taki spots an open garden where several dogs are playing happily. He asks Luke if he wants to join the fun, but the wolf scoffs at being compared to mere mutts. Luke claims a legendary Fenrir would never play with a ball, though his eyes tell a much more playful story. Shelty mentions the courtyard is free for members to use, earning a grateful nod from Taki. She insists it's the least she can do for a valued member, offering her help whenever he needs it. However, Taki kills the mood by asking why the guild hall seems so deserted. Shelty admits tamers are a rare breed but insists their potential is truly magnificent. She explains that tamers and their beasts form an unstoppable duo, though taming high-level monsters is a feat few can achieve. When Taki agrees with her vision, Shelty is visibly moved to finally find a kindred spirit. She expresses her hope that he stays for the long haul, and Taki silently nods in agreement. Before leaving, he asks about selling loot, but learns that only the Adventurers Guild handles general materials. With a new destination in mind, Taki heads toward the massive Adventurers Guild headquarters. Dozens of adventurers swarm the reception counter. Taichi didn't expect the guild to be this crowded, and the sea of humans clearly irritates Luke. When he finally reaches the front, the receptionist asks him to place his materials on the counter for appraisal. Taichi warns her that the counter is too small for his haul, leaving her confused since he appears empty-handed until he mentions his magic bag. Stunned by the mention of such a legendary item, she quickly asks him to follow her as Taichi realizes the bag is even rarer than he thought. He's escorted directly to the dismantling squad, where the head worker instructs him to unload his materials onto a massive table. Taichi starts by manifesting a dragon, followed by an endless stream of monster carcasses that flood the room. Even the oversized table proves too small for the haul, leaving the dismantling team paralyzed with shock at the sheer volume. The loot is comprised of high-rank threats like red wolves, and even a platinum golem. Taichi is just glad he didn't bring out everything Luke slaughtered on the way here. Upon inspection, the squad notices every single monster was killed with a solitary, lethal blow. They ask if Taichi is the slayer, but he credits his familiar. This leads the workers to believe he's a high-tier tamer, completely unaware that Taichi is actually a lowly F-rank. When they ask about the familiar's species, Taichi identifies him as a wolf king, which sparks a flash of annoyance in the proud Luke. Taichi quickly pets his fur and asks for patience so they can finish the sale. Luke immediately melts under the affection. The dismantlers are awestruck that a wolf king would be so obedient. With the formalities over, They begin the grueling task of calculating the price. Taichi waits outside while the experts process the massive pile of monsters. Eventually, the receptionist returns and apologizes for the wait before presenting the final valuation. She hands over bags overflowing with gold, 100,000 shells per red wolf, and 3 million for the platinum golem, totaling a staggering 3.43 million shells. Now possessing a small fortune, Taichi listens as the curious receptionist asks if he plans to invest in top-tier equipment. Taichi shocks her by revealing his true plan. He's going to open a business called Cafe Fluffy. Hearing his unexpected dream, she offers him a warm smile. She is visibly disappointed that he isn't becoming an adventurer, but she's relieved to have a powerful Tamer protecting the town. She advises him to visit the Commerce Guild next. If he truly intends to open his shop, Tashi takes the suggestion to heart, and she bids him farewell, promising to visit Cafe Fluffy the moment it opens. Returning to the Tamer's Guild, Shelty greets him and inquires if he successfully sold his materials, which Tashi confirms. He now possesses the capital to launch his dream cafe, all thanks to Luke's hard work, and plans to visit the Commerce Guild tomorrow after scouting for a location. Shelty reveals that the Tamer's Guild actually manages several properties if he is interested in browsing. Since Tamers often command massive familiars, they offer spacious estates on the city's outskirts, which sounds like music to Tashi's ears. He asks for a tour immediately, but Shelty tells him to return early tomorrow morning so she can finalize the listings for him. Tashi heads back to his room to reflect on his rapid progress, but before he begins his property search, he realizes he needs a gear upgrade. He makes his way to the local equipment shop. The dealer begins a standard greeting, but freezes mid-sentence the moment he lays eyes on Tashi's massive familiar. Tashi offers to have Luke wait outside, but the dealer insists it is fine, earning a polite thank you from the young Tamer. As Tashi admires the high-tier gear worn by elite soldiers, Luke suggests he buy a set, but Tashi refuses, claiming it's too heavy, prompting Luke to mock him for being weak. Luke then spots a specific piece of gear and points it out to his master. It is a sleek, light jacket that feels incredibly soft to the touch. Tashi decides to buy it on the spot, while Luke notes that it's a massive upgrade over the plain, boring clothes he's currently wearing. Luke insists his master should at least put some effort into his appearance, giving Tashi one more reason to finalize the purchase. The shopkeeper approaches, asking if Tashi is a Tamer since he's never seen a wolf this massive. Tashi proudly introduces Luke as his vital partner. Upon closer inspection, the shopkeeper realizes Luke is actually a legendary wolf king, a creature rarely seen in this day and age. He is stunned by the Wolf King's magnificent coat, and Luke basks in the praise, proving he is a sucker for a good compliment. Seizing the moment, Tashi mentions his plan for a cafe where people can interact with fluffy monsters, and the intrigued shopkeeper promises to be his first customer. After changing into standard clothes, he returns to the Tamer's Guild to finalize the property details. Shelty greets him warmly as he arrives. Taki immediately asks if she managed to find any suitable locations for his new home. Shelty beams, announcing she found a prime spot located right next to the guild. Though it's a bustling area perfect for a cafe, Taki prefers a more tranquil atmosphere, leading Shelty to suggest a peaceful estate on the city's edge near the outer wall. Taki carefully examines the property's floor plan. He notices the building features a massive backyard and garden perfect for training familiars, and it even comes with its own well. It seems like the perfect catch, but Shelty warns him that the location is dangerous since it sits outside the walls and is prone to monster attacks. Taki isn't concerned, knowing that if any monsters dare to show up, Luke will make short work of them. He assures her he'll be safe with Luke's protection and asks to see the place in person, which Shelty happily agrees to. She then guides him through the gates to the outskirts of the city. Taki finally gets his first look at the house, the expansive backyard, and the private well. The house itself looks absolutely stunning. It is love at first sight for the young Tamer. Luke takes a moment to scout the perimeter before giving Taki his seal of approval. Even the powerful familiar agrees that this property is a top-tier choice. Taki is ready to pull the trigger and buy it on the spot. Shelty then offers to give him a full tour of the interior. The moment Taki steps inside, he is blown away by the incredible and sophisticated design. Shelty explains the professional layout is because the previous owner was also a tamer who ran a restaurant, which Taki sees as a massive advantage. Luke surveys the house and finds the space far too cramped for his majestic form. He questions if a noble Fenrir like himself should truly settle for such humble quarters, but Taki reminds him that home is wherever you make it. He's certain that in time Luke will grow to love this place. Flustered by the sentiment, Luke acts shy, prompting Taki to realize his familiar is a total tsundere, or in this case, a tsundog. Moving on, Shelty leads them to the second floor to reveal the living quarters. Taki finds the room perfect, deciding it'll make an excellent bedroom. Though the furniture is dated, it suits him fine. But Shelty warns him that rent is 10,000 a month. and buying it requires him to be at least an E-rank tamer. Taki agrees to the rental terms immediately, much to Shelty's delight. With the deal struck, they head back to the guild to finalize the formal paperwork. As they depart, Taki takes one last look at his new base of operations. He feels a surge of pride, knowing he's one step closer to completing his ultimate dream. Cafe Fluffy. However, he knows there is still a mountain of work ahead of him. Meanwhile, the guild receptionist Amelia reflects on the shocking events of her workday. Out of everything she's seen, Taki taming a wolf king is the most stunning feat, and she knows the guildmaster must be informed. She had tried to report the news earlier the moment Taki arrived. Unfortunately, the guildmaster was nowhere to be found at the time. Now that the guildmaster Himari has returned, Amelia fills her in on the legendary Tamer who successfully subdued a king of wolves. Himari instantly recognizes the massive strategic value of having such a powerhouse in their city. Amelia confirms the details, but Himari sighs, claiming she's unfit to lead because she lacks negotiation skills. Amelia knows better, though, as Himari is a magic prodigy who earned the title Adventurer of Wisdom through sheer talent and grit. Despite the praise, Himari insists she isn't built for desk work, even though Amelia views it as a massive waste of talent. Himari admits having a wolf king as a familiar is fascinating, but Amelia urges her to recruit the man, noting the legendary quality of his monster loot. However, Himari's expression shifts to one of deep concern and hesitation. She shuts down the discussion immediately, and when a confused Amelia asks why, Himari reveals she refuses to pressure the man into joining. She fears that if the guild is too persistent, he might abandon the city entirely, leading Amelia to finally concede and return to her duties. In reality, the guildmaster is hiding her true motivations. She once battled a wolf king herself, and knows firsthand how terrifyingly powerful they are, making her realize Taichi must possess a truly unique job. She finds it bizarre that someone so powerful remains so humble, and she wonders if their paths will cross again in the streets. If they do meet, she hopes it's as a fellow adventurer rather than a guildmaster, looking out her window with a hopeful smile. Meanwhile, Taichi settles into his brand new home for his very first night. He's ecstatic that his hard work has finally paid off. This is the foundation for his dream cafe, and he acknowledges that it's all thanks to the monsters Luke helped him hunt. Taichi showers the wolf with gratitude, though Luke tells him to stop being so touchy-feely. Secretly, the wolf enjoys the affection, until Taichi starts weirdly sniffing his fur. Taichi notes that they need furniture next, and when Luke asks if they're going shopping, Taichi explains that while he could buy items, he'd rather test out his newest unique skill. The skill is called Creation, a power so convenient that even Luke is left stunned. Taichi wastes no time and immediately activates the legendary ability. A 3D block manifests in his mind, allowing him to reshape reality into whatever form he desires. He envisions a round table for the center of his shop, complete with adorable cat paw designs for the legs. Taki selects a premium wood base with a rich, natural finish. Once finalized, the table manifests instantly before his eyes. Taki realizes his creation skill allows him to manifest anything he can visualize in his mind. Luke watches in awe as these god-tier skills come to life, while Taki begins crafting even more items. He even produces a plush beanbag for Luke to relax on. He invites Luke to test it out, and the creature tentatively places his paw onto the cushion. To his surprise, it's incredibly comfortable, and he sinks into the softness, completely satisfied. Taki continues his crafting spree, producing tables, chairs, and premium cushions. He populates the room with shelves and various essential fixtures. He adds room dividers along with an assortment of cat toys and softballs. A massive cat tower is installed, spanning across the entire wall. Finally, he constructs an elegant spiral staircase right at the center table. He adds the final touches with decorative curtains, completing the interior design. By the time he finishes, the sun is already setting. He was so immersed that time simply flew by. Luke is clearly reluctant to leave his new sanctuary. Taki insists they head back before Shelty worries, promising to tackle the living room tomorrow. The following morning arrives. Taichi completes the living room, though Luke finds the new layout a bit cramped. But all is forgiven as long as he has his precious beanbag, much to Taki's relief. Suddenly, Taki's face contorts in confusion as he realizes he forgot a crucial detail. He realizes that despite being a cafe, they are still missing a proper signboard. Luke dismisses the idea, but Taki emphasizes its critical importance. Utilizing creation magic, he crafts a sign for Cafe Fluffy, a sanctuary of healing open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. With the aesthetic perfected, he adds a doorbell, keeping the hours short to maintain a laid-back atmosphere. Realizing he needs a permit to operate, Taki sets his sights on the Commerce Guild. When asked for input, Luke scoffs, finding the legalities far too boring to endure. He opts for a nap on a beanbag instead, leaving Taki to handle the paperwork alone. With that, the Tamer heads into the city to finalize his plans. At the Commerce Guild, the receptionist greets him and inquires about his business. Taki explains his vision for a cafe where customers interact with familiars, but she struggles to see why anyone would want to pet monsters. This leaves Taki deeply disappointed that the world doesn't yet grasp the divine concept of fluffiness. He passionately explains that despite being monsters, they are soft, comforting, and provide the ultimate emotional healing for weary humans. Intrigued by the unique concept, the receptionist confirms that his status as a tamer makes the business perfectly legal. However, she notes that every monster employee must be officially registered with the Tamer's Guild, a condition Taki finds reasonable. Next comes the tax talk. Taki clarifies he's running a private shop located on the outskirts of town. She informs him the tax rate is a mere 5% of total sales, a deal Taki finds incredibly generous. Finally, she asks for the official opening date of the cafe. Suddenly, Taki freezes, completely speechless. He realizes he's missing key preparations, and the receptionist tells him to return once the date is set. Taki sprints all the way back to his shop, screaming that they have a massive crisis on their hands. Luke groggily asks what could possibly be important enough to disturb a Fenrir's precious slumber. Taki explains they lack the fluffies required to officially open the cafe. While Luke remains unfazed, Taki is gripped with concern over this critical shortage. Luke suggests a simple solution: use his Tamer skills to recruit new monsters. Taki heads to the Tamer's Guild to consult Shelty about finding the friendliest, fluffiest creatures. Shelty points him toward the berry rabbits in the southwest, though they are frequent targets for rookie adventurers. Grateful for the lead, Taki immediately sets out to track down these elusive berry rabbits. Luke questions the plan, wondering how Taki expects to catch such notoriously agile monsters. Luke offers to hunt them himself, but Taki quickly declines to ensure the rabbits' safety. Suddenly, a mysterious rustle in the grass catches his attention. He peers through the brush to find a small, impossibly soft and fluffy monster rabbit. Overwhelmed by its cuteness, Taki realizes he has finally found a berry rabbit. Luke finds it strange that such a cautious creature would approach so easily. But Taki knows his "loved by all fluffies" title is working its magic. Everything falls into place as he successfully tames the adorable creature. Mesmerized by its snowy white fur, Taki decides to name his new companion Marshmallow. He attempts to use his converse skill, but Luke explains these rabbits aren't intelligent enough for speech yet, though they may learn in time. Relieved, Taki hugs Luke and praises his brilliance while basking in his fluffy coat. Luke tries to protest the casual touching, but Taki cuts him off, finishing the Fenrir's usual boast for him. Luke lets out a laugh as Taki admits he has the speech memorized after hearing it so often. Suddenly, a whole swarm of berry rabbits begins to emerge from the greenery. Seizing the golden opportunity, Taki begins taming the entire group one by one. He observes a colorful variety of berry rabbits, naming the white one Monica, while tending to the brown one. To him, there is nothing better than being surrounded by these fluffy creatures. However, Luke grows concerned and questions exactly how many he intends to tame. Despite the warning, Tachi ends up taming an entire horde. He returns to the city followed by a massive army of berry rabbits. The gate guard stands frozen in shock, demanding to know what's with the rabbit swarm. Tachi casually explains he's a tamer and these are all his familiars. Flashing his guild card, he insists there shouldn't be an issue, and the soldier concedes as long as the creatures are controlled. But the guard is still perplexed, noting that the number of tamed monsters usually depends on one's skill level, a question Tachi didn't anticipate. It's a reasonable inquiry, but he can't exactly reveal his skill levels are infinite. Instead, he makes the excuse that he can tame so many because they are small and weak. The soldier hesitantly accepts the lie, and Tachi plays it off, claiming there's no real way to know their true level anyway. The soldier sees the logic in his words, allowing Tachi to successfully dodge the interrogation. The peace is short-lived, however, as introducing 10 berry rabbits to Shelty leaves her completely stunned and overflowing with questions. Once the chaos settles, Luke gives the berry rabbits a strict set of instructions. They are to stay away from his beanbag at all costs. Tachi notices that Luke is completely monopolizing the comfy seat. To settle the dispute, Tachi crafts another beanbag for the rabbits, who also enjoy playing with their various toys. Luke is finally satisfied, and the berry rabbits look absolutely adorable in their new home. Next on the agenda is the menu. He realizes that tea is a rare luxury in this world, but he refuses to serve anything of low quality. To secure the best ingredients, he decides to activate his next unique skill, shopping. This ability allows the cat god to handle his shopping, procuring up to 5 items at a single time. Suddenly, a pen and paper manifest right before his eyes. He drafts a list of essentials: powdered sencha, tea bags, instant coffee, and an assortment of sweets. After finishing, he wonders if his request actually reached the divine cat god. While waiting, Taki uses his creation skill to design a menu featuring premium teas, coffee, and treats. Suddenly, a bag of supplies materializes on the table right behind him. The bill totals 2,800 shells, leaving him momentarily puzzled about how to settle the debt. As soon as he produces the money, it vanishes into thin air, prompting him to thank the deity. He finds comfort in knowing he has such powerful divine support watching over him. From this day forward, Taki officially moves into the cafe, anticipating a visit from Shelty. However, one major problem remains: the lack of a bathroom, a luxury reserved only for the elite. This leads to Taki attempting to bathe Luke by hand, despite the creature's fierce resistance. Luke's attitude shifts the moment he notices the berry rabbits are actually enjoying their soak. Taki points out that the rabbits are behaving much better than the stubborn Luke. Feeling a bit shy, Luke finally gives in and allows himself to be cleaned. His pride won't let the newcomers outshine him, a competitive trait Taki finds incredibly adorable. With Luke finally clean, Taki dreams of a proper hot water bath to survive the upcoming winter. He remembers Shelty's permission to modify the property, even though he's just a tenant. Using his overpowered creation skill, he constructs a magnificent detached bathhouse. Luke asks about the new structure, and Taki promises him he's going to love it. They step inside to find a perfectly organized and luxurious interior. Everything is crafted exactly to his specifications, just as he envisioned. Taichi wonders where the taps even connect, but as long as they work, he's satisfied. Luke, however, is curious about the plan for all this hot water. Taichi introduces him to the concept of a bathtub and invites the wolf to be the first to try it out. But before Luke can even react, the berry rabbits hijack the tub, sending him into a fit of rage. Refusing to let them take the lead, Luke dives right in, creating a chaotic scene that Taichi finds hilarious. As the heat sinks in, Luke experiences a level of pure relaxation he's never felt before. The noble Fenrir declares that cold water is now beneath him, and Taichi is thrilled to see him enjoying it so much. Calling Taichi a weirdo, Luke demands a fresh bath every single day, leaving Taichi stunned by his sudden obsession. With the wolf settled, Taichi finally slips into his own bath to unwind for a moment. But the peace is short-lived as Luke invades Taichi's tub, claiming it's unfair for him to have the larger bath all to himself. Seeing Luke completely surrender to the comfort, Taichi realizes the wolf has become a total fan of the spa life. Once the bathing session concludes, it's finally time to get to work. Taichi officially opens the cafe and appoints Marshmallow as the leader of the berry rabbits to keep the crew in line. Marshmallow accepts the responsibility, and Taichi gives the rabbits permission to play with the guests however they please. 3 hours crawl by, and yet there isn't a single customer in sight. As the afternoon rolls in, the silence in the cafe becomes deafening. Taichi expected a slow start since he didn't advertise, but he can only hope that word of mouth eventually brings in a crowd. Just as he begins to feel the crushing anxiety of a new business owner, the doorbell rings. His first customers have arrived. Standing at the entrance is a trio of seasoned adventurers. Taichi warmly welcomes them, and the leader explains they spotted the shop on their way back to town and decided to take a break. But the peaceful vibe shatters instantly when their archer draws an arrow. Terrified by the sight of monsters roaming the cafe, Taki immediately steps forward to intervene and stop her. He explains that these creatures are actually his familiars. She is stunned, never expecting to find monsters in a place like this. A feeling Taki completely understands. She remains puzzled as to why familiars are hanging out inside a cafe. Taki explains that this is Cafe Fluffy, a place where customers can interact with adorable, soft monsters. He introduces himself and reveals the shop just opened today, making them his very first customers. Honored by the news, the archer introduces herself as Nina the Hunter. Her companion is introduced as Gree, and finally there is Aries. Taki informs them they can order at the counter, noting the current 1 drink per person policy. While waiting, they are free to lounge anywhere and play with the monsters, an offer Nina eagerly accepts. While placing her order, she asks about the difference between standard tea and black tea. Taki explains that tea usually refers to green tea, a refreshing staple from his homeland. Grizz and Nina decide to go with the iced tea instead. Nina asks what Aries wants, and Aries settles on the black tea. Nina adds a side of chocolates and cookies to the order, which Taki gladly accepts. He collects 700 shells per drink, and 300 for the sweets, bringing the total bill to 2,700 shells. He invites them to get comfortable while they wait. As the trio takes their seats and Nina eyes the berry rabbits with curiosity. She used to hunt these creatures down, but seeing them like this, she realizes just how cute they truly are. Grizz remarks that if you look past the fact that they're monsters, they are just like small, harmless animals. Grizz eyes the massive wolf with curiosity, though Luke's presence remains undeniably intimidating. Suddenly, Marshmallow makes his move and approaches Nina. She freezes in awkward silence, overwhelmed by guilt for aiming her bow at the creature earlier. Overcoming her hesitation, she finally reaches out and pats Marshmallow. Nearby, Gree is overjoyed to hold a berry rabbit, as small animals usually flee from him in terror. Nina laughs, noting that Gree is a total softie at heart. Aries accuses him of overreacting, but Grizz insists that an experience this rare is worth the excitement. Nina asks Aries why she isn't joining in, but she dismisses the idea, claiming she only wants tea and rest. Moments later, Taichi arrives with their highly anticipated order. He serves a spread of chocolates and cookies, along with 2 iced teas and a cup of black tea. Nina is impressed by the spread, while Grizz stares in wonder at his first ever green drink. One by one, the group begins to sample the treats. Everyone is instantly stunned by the incredible smoothness of the tea. The cookies are a culinary masterpiece, leading Grizz to suspect the price tag is missing a digit. Taichi, however, assures them the low price is correct. He is thrilled they enjoy the food and encourages them to help themselves to more. Meanwhile, Aries focuses on quietly enjoying her black tea. Without warning, a berry rabbit hops toward her, catching her completely off guard. Aries quickly scans the room, making sure no one is watching her every move. Unable to resist the cuteness, she begins to stroke the fluffy berry rabbit. She is captivated by its softness, though her pride makes her too shy to admit she's a fan. Aries quickly claims she is merely lending her lap to the creature while no one is looking. Taichi observes the customers, noting their immense satisfaction with the service. It's hard to believe they've never experienced the fluff of this world, and he considers providing meals to help them relax. However, his lack of culinary skills worries him, as he's spent his life relying on convenience store food. Taichi decides to try something simple, wondering if his shopping skill can provide pre-packaged ingredients. He sets out to scout the town, hoping to find high-quality local ingredients. Soon, Taichi is navigating the bustling market, scanning the various stalls for fresh produce. Since rice is nowhere to be found, he plans to use his shopping skill to acquire some from the cat god. Suddenly, Loop calls out to him. The hungry wolf demands meat skewers from a nearby stall, and a starving Taichi is happy to oblige. He buys a portion for himself, while Lu insists on having his own share. Taichi orders another skewer, specifically for his companion. While Taichi finds the meat delicious, Loop boldly claims that Taichi's own cooking is far superior. This unexpected praise sparks a sudden realization within Taichi. Loop immediately follows up by demanding another legendary dragon steak. For now, Taichi focuses on stocking up his magic bag with fresh ingredients. Suddenly, Loop senses an approaching presence as a stranger marvels at the massive dog. The girl introduces herself as Himari and asks if the creature is Taichi's familiar. Noting she looks like a high schooler, Taichi politely introduces himself as a Tamer. He clarifies that his companion isn't a dog, but a powerful wolf named Loop. Himari asks for permission to pet him, prompting Taichi to check if Loop is comfortable with it. Luke refuses to be petted by a girl who dared to call him a dog, and Himari quickly realizes it's a lost cause. Taichi apologizes for the behavior, but Himari simply smiles, taking the rejection in stride. She knows that familiars can be notoriously difficult, so she chooses not to impose herself. Taichi then offers a better alternative, visiting his Cafe Fluffy to play with some adorable berry rabbits. Himari is stunned to learn that Taichi is the owner of the very cafe she heard about from the receptionist Ignilia. She follows him to the building, which looks more like a cozy, wholesome home than a shop. The moment Himari steps inside the cafe, she is instantly mesmerized by the serene and relaxing atmosphere. She immediately finds pure joy in playing with the berry rabbits. Watching them, Taichi can only wish that Luke was half as friendly as these rabbits. Himari is blown away after counting the creatures, noting that having 11 familiars is an incredible feat. She asks if it's truly okay to be there since the shop isn't officially open. But Taichi assures her it's no problem. He explains that since few people are brave enough to pet monsters, he always welcomes a fellow fluffy lover. Worried he sounds a bit forward, he clarifies he has no ulterior motives, which only makes Himari laugh at his earnestness. She playfully brandishes her wand, claiming she's far more powerful than her cute appearance suggests. Taichi recognizes her as a skilled mage, while Himari carefully hides her true identity as the guildmaster. Realizing he invited her out so suddenly, Taichi asks if she's skipped breakfast, and she admits that's the case. He tells her to wait with the rabbits while he prepares a meal, an offer Himari is happy to take. Taichi heads to the kitchen, using his shopping skill for ingredients and creation magic to craft custom tableware. He boils the pasta and heats up a rich meat sauce, feeling proud as the space finally starts to feel like a real cafe. Tachi emerges with the order, noting that she seems to be thoroughly enjoying herself. It's clear that Himari has a massive soft spot for the adorable berry rabbits. She admits their fur is so soft that she actually feels guilty for blasting them with magic during her missions. Tachi serves the steaming dish and urges her to eat before it cools, while Himari eagerly prepares for the first bite. After just one taste, her eyes sparkle as she declares the meal absolutely divine. Tachi remains humble, downplaying the dish as nothing more than standard pasta. Himari praises the firm texture and rich sauce, hailing Tachi as an elite chef while he graciously thanks her. He mentions adding the dish to the permanent menu, and Himari predicts it will be a massive hit, especially with the cute tableware. As Tachi absorbs the feedback, a group of berry rabbits begins to huddle around Himari's feet. Himari offers to share her meal with them, but Tachi quickly interjects, telling her to refrain from feeding them that. He brings out a special blend for the rabbits, who stare up at him with irresistibly cute eyes. Tachi finds their adorable gaze so precious that it feels almost unfair. Himari curiously asks if these berry rabbits actually eat strawberries for breakfast. Tachi nods and turns to feed them, while Himari watches him tend to the fluffy creatures. Suddenly, the entire swarm of berry rabbits lunges toward the food in a frenzy. They become completely entranced, focusing entirely on their delicious feast. The sight is so heart-melting that Himari can't look away, and Tachi admits he never grows tired of seeing them like this. In that brief moment of pure relaxation, Himari suddenly realizes just how deeply she has been drawn in by these creatures. She is utterly captivated, finally succumbing to the overwhelming power of their fluffiness. Taichi fully understands her plight, having sought solace in cat cafes during his own days of soul-crushing overwork. As the berry rabbits settle down after their meal, Himari vows to return soon as a paying customer. Taichi is thrilled by her words, welcoming her back any time to indulge in the ultimate fluffiness. When she reaches for her coin purse, Taichi insists that her feedback is more than enough payment. Himari offers a warm smile, promising to use her strength as an elite adventurer to protect him if trouble ever arises. Reassured by her offer, Taichi accepts as Himari bids him farewell and sets off on her journey. She departs with a final wish for his safety. With the shop quiet once more, Taichi immediately dives back into his culinary duties. His first order of business is upgrading the menu with a savory new meat sauce pasta set. Next, he moves with efficiency to replenish his cooking supplies for the rush ahead. Suddenly, Luke approaches with a surprising request. He wants Taichi to cook up a legendary dragon steak. Taichi watches in awe as the usually stoic Luke makes the request with a visible hint of shyness. Luke snaps back, demanding respect, while Taichi realizes the warrior was simply craving the pasta he saw Himari enjoying. He suspects Luke felt a pang of loneliness while Taichi was showering Himari with all the attention. Following this, Cafe Fluffy enjoys a streak of peaceful days filled with satisfied customers. A certain merchant becomes a devoted regular, obsessed with the white berry rabbit Monica. While ordering his usual tea and pasta, he finds pure bliss and relaxation just by basking in Monica's adorable presence. However, Taichi begins to notice something peculiar. A massive group of berry rabbits is swarming the merchant, a phenomenon that is incredibly rare. As Taichi delivers the food, the merchant admits he has no idea why these fluffy creatures are suddenly obsessed with him. He's overwhelmed by the tickling sensation, feeling as if he's about to die a glorious, fluffy death. In that moment, Taichi notices something suspicious. He asks the merchant about his chest pocket, which turns out to be hiding prototype cookies. Sensing the treats, the berry rabbits immediately launch a full-scale assault on him. The merchant is completely blindsided by the sudden furry ambush. Taichi reminds him that outside food is strictly forbidden, prompting a frantic apology from the merchant. The merchant is drowning in a sea of fluff, pushed to his absolute limit. To save himself from the chaos, he desperately devours all the cookies in one go. This leaves the berry rabbits completely stunned and frozen in place. Taichi asks the little creatures if they're really that hungry. He decides he'll need to craft some special snacks for them when he has the time. The heartbroken merchant watches in despair as every single rabbit abandons him. Shortly after, Taichi closes up the shop for the day. He consults with Luke to brainstorm ways to improve life for the berry rabbits. Luke admires his dedication but explains that their diet and environment are what matter most. He insists the beanbag is their ultimate paradise, a sight Taichi finds incredibly precious. Taichi then considers taking the berry rabbits outside for some proper exercise. But the rabbits begin hopping wildly, signaling that they are perfectly content staying indoors. When Taichi offers this backyard to Luke, the wolf declines, claiming a small yard could never satisfy his hunting instincts. He's already lost in the thrill of imagining a real hunt. Taichi commits to spending much more time with Luke moving forward. As Luke heads off to sleep before his workout, Taichi turns his attention to their food supply. He begins preparing a unique blend of strawberries and carrots. But he quickly realizes he's missing a key component, the elusive moonflower. Seeking answers, he heads to the Tamers Guild to investigate. There, he's met by Shelty, who's been worried about his long absence. She immediately notices that his usual squad of monsters is missing today. Taichi simply points out that Luke has been standing right behind him the entire time. Shelty clarifies she was actually shocked by the 10 berry rabbits he once brought in all at once. When Taichi asks about moonflowers, she pulls out a guide to show him exactly what they look like. It turns out these rare plants can only be harvested at the stroke of midnight. Taichi starts to worry about the timing, but Shelty notes he can just buy them at a shop. She points him towards a magic store just 5 minutes away, reminding him that magic is a staple in this world. Shelty wonders why he needs them, since the ingredient is far too rare for typical cafes or tamers. Tachi explains he's making snacks for his family, reminding her of his incredible culinary talents. She feels a surge of envy knowing such a rare item is being used for mere treats. Tachi thanks Shelty for the lead and makes his way toward the magic district. He arrives at the shop in record time. The building is massive, looking like a place reserved strictly for high-ranking nobles. He wonders if he can bring Luke inside, but the proud monster has no intention of waiting on the curb. Suddenly, Himari appears and greets Taichi. She curiously asks what brings him to the magic store. Taichi quickly brings her up to speed on the situation. Himari offers to wait outside with Luke, and while Taichi finds the help tempting, he hesitates to bother her. She insists it's no trouble at all, eager to repay him for his kindness from the other day. Taichi decides to take her up on the generous offer. However, Luke is clearly agitated by the arrangement. Taichi asks the wolf to stay put and behave for just a moment. To sweeten the deal, he promises Luke an even bigger beanbag as a reward. Swayed by the bribe, Luke decides he can endure the wait after all. Taichi promises a swift return, while Himari tells him to take all the time he needs. Inside the magic store, Taichi finds himself surrounded by a bustling crowd and shelves of mystical potions. He maintains his focus, refusing to get sidetracked so he doesn't leave his friends waiting. He scans the prices of various magical herbs, noting most cost around 1,000 shells. Finally, his eyes land on the elusive moonflower. Priced at 10,000 shells per bundle, he considers it a fair deal. He briefly wonders just how many cookies he can craft from a single flower. After finishing his business, he exits to find an intimidating Luke towering over a visibly shaken Himari. He immediately apologizes for the wait and checks to see if she's all right. Himari insists she's fine, calling Luke a good boy, a compliment the wolf clearly despises. Taki heads home to begin his work, with Himari tagging along to witness the process. They soon arrive at his residence to begin the preparations. Taki meticulously assembles his array of ingredients. He activates his cooking skills, expertly crafting the treats. The result is a massive batch of mini cookies, which he carefully packs into small bags. He calculates the total count to keep a strict eye on production costs and quantity. He's satisfied to find 70 bags ready for sale, meaning a price of 40 to 50 shells will easily recover his investment. He mentions that the berry rabbits will receive these treats, and Himari jumps for joy, volunteering to be the courier. But as she reaches for a cookie, she immediately devours it herself. Taki demands to know why she's eating the stock, but she admits the temptation was simply irresistible. These cookies are nothing short of divine. Taki can't help himself and takes a bite to confirm the quality. The scent even brings the berry rabbits running, eager to get a taste of the masterpiece. Himari pats herself down, promising that she will definitely distribute the rest. Suddenly, Taki senses Luke approaching, lured in by the incredible aroma. Luke asks for his share, making Taki realize he completely forgot to prepare Luke's specific snacks. Himari offers Luke a cookie, and the powerful warrior nods with visible awkwardness. He claims he'll settle for cookies for now, justifying it since his subordinates are eating them anyway. Taki realizes that Luke is actually quite shy when dealing with people like Himari, likely due to his long years of isolation. Taki smiles and decides to handle Luke's treats personally, leaving Himari to manage the berry rabbits. He explains that these cookies are crafted from carrots, strawberries, and moonflower, though Luke wonders why meat isn't the main ingredient. However, the moment he tastes them, his ears perk up in pure delight. Luke begrudgingly admits the cookies are actually impressive, much to Taki's relief. The noble beast immediately demands more, but Taki warns him that overindulging will only lead to a stomachache. Luke brushes it off, claiming his intense training as a noble Fenrir allows for the extra calories, forcing Taki to cave. Driven by pure hunger, Luke is so eager that he practically swallows Taki's hand along with the treat. Meanwhile, Himari is busy distributing the sweets to the local berry rabbits. She finds herself completely overwhelmed by the sheer cuteness of the scene. Every time she offers up a single cookie, the berry rabbits descend into a chaotic, adorable frenzy to see who can grab it first. The rest of the berry rabbits stare her down, desperately waiting for their turn. Himari stands no chance against their weaponized, sparkling eyes. Taki and Himari lose themselves in the joy of feeding these fluffy creatures. Inspired by the success, Taki decides to officially update the cafe's menu. He adds the specialized bunny cookies for 300 shells per bag. The following day, the adventuring party of Aries, Grizz, and Nania arrives at the shop. Grizz's sharp eyes immediately spot the new addition to the menu. Taki proudly announces that customers can now personally feed the berry rabbits with these treats. Grizz and Nania waste no time ordering a bag, while Aries sticks to her classic black tea. When Nana suggests she try it herself, Eerie claims she's perfectly fine. Minette notes that regardless of what Eerie says, she never misses a trip to the cafe. Taichi previously warned Grizz that the berry rabbits would charge him at full force for those cookies. But he never expected these cute rabbits to swarm him so ruthlessly. Minette teases him for finishing his feeding time in the blink of an eye, while she, on the other hand, prefers to savor the moment by giving out one cookie at a time. Irie watches them closely as they interact with the berry rabbits. A few days later, Taichi notices Irie visiting the cafe entirely on her own. She claims she's only there to enjoy a peaceful tea time. She even denies having any secret motives, like wanting to pet the rabbits. With her usual order of black tea and chocolates ready, the empty cafe makes her feel right at home. She begins reading her book. However, she keeps stealing subtle glances at the berry rabbits. Soon, Taichi arrives to serve her order. She bites into the chocolate and takes a sip of her signature black tea. Driven by curiosity, she asks Taichi where he gets the tea, as the aroma is simply divine. Taichi apologizes, simply stating he acquired it through a private connection. Realizing he can't reveal his source, Irie apologizes for the trouble and goes back to her drink. Then Taichi reaches down and picks up a brown berry rabbit. He places the creature on Aries' lap, catching her off guard as she insists she only came here to read. Taichi reassures her and introduces the brown berry rabbit as Chalco. Aries notes that the name sounds remarkably like the chocolates she loves. An involuntary smile creeps across her face as she begins to enjoy the moment. Sensing her mood, Taichi steps back to give her some much-needed privacy. Aries realizes Taichi understands her discomfort with being watched by others. She gently strokes Chalco's fur. She begins to wonder if everyone else experiences this same sense of peace. Suddenly she jumps as Chalco licks her finger. Realizing the rabbit smells the chocolate she ate earlier, she plans to bring cookies for him next time. As the day ends, Taichi closes the shop, thrilled by the massive success of his new treats. Luke reminds him it's time for their workout, and Taichi reluctantly agrees to go. However, within moments, he is already regretting his decision. Luke is pushing a pace that is far too grueling for him to maintain. Luke demands he keep his promise, though Taichi never expected the training to be this brutal. He notices that Luke is having the absolute time of his life. This means there is no chance of slowing down, until Luke spots a massive dragon looming ahead. Instantly, Luke declares his craving for a fresh dragon steak. Taichi is paralyzed with shock at the dragon's colossal size. He asks if Luke is actually serious about slaying it, to which Luke simply replies that it looks delicious. He instructs Taki to wait while he handles the dragon single-handedly. Luke instantly enters hunting mode, unleashing a moonlit wind slash directly at the beast's throat. Taki is so preoccupied with the flashy name of the technique that he misses the moment Luke effortlessly decapitates the dragon. Taki realizes once more just how incredibly lucky he is to have Luke as an ally. Luke then approaches Taki and requests that he prepare a dragon steak from the kill. Taki gets to work, expertly preparing the exotic meal. Luke devours the delicious meat, savoring every legendary bite. Taki wonders aloud if it is actually safe for humans to consume dragon flesh. Luke reassures him, explaining that dragon meat is a top-tier, high-quality delicacy for humans. Encouraged, Taki decides to take a bite for himself. His eyes sparkle the moment he tastes the luxurious melt-in-your-mouth steak. He remarks that Luke is even more powerful than he imagined and is grateful to have him at the cafe. Luke turns away, suddenly becoming incredibly bashful. He claims he only claimed the cafe as his territory because the beanbag was comfortable. Taki sees right through the act, noticing how Luke's wagging tail betrays his true feelings. The two of them share the feast, enjoying a rare moment of tranquility. However, they remain blissfully unaware of the formidable threat looming in their future. It all begins when Himari stumbles into the cafe, looking completely exhausted. Taki quickly takes her order for some cookies and a cup of hot black tea. But when he returns with the order, he finds Himari already dead to the world from exhaustion. He invokes his creation magic to manifest a blanket, letting her sleep as long as she needs. When she finally snaps awake, Taichi is right there to greet her with a warm smile. Himari thanks him for the much-needed rest, but when she asks how long she was out, he reveals it's been over 2 hours. She flinches in horror, realizing her short break turned into a massive nap. Taichi offers her some chocolate to recharge her batteries and calm her nerves. She rushes off immediately, leaving Taichi to wonder just how intense her job actually is. As the hours roll by and the sun begins to set, his regular adventurer clients stop by to see if he's closing for the day. He gives them 30 minutes of playtime, and they immediately rush to play with the rabbits. Taichi asks the group if anything strange has been happening lately, noting that Himari was unusually drained, which makes Grizz and Nina look worried. They drop a bombshell. A massive 3-meter Cerberus has appeared in the nearby forest. Taichi isn't initially fazed, considering he's already encountered a legendary Fenrir. But the duo explains that a Cerberus is a disaster-level threat capable of wiping out entire cities. Realizing the true scale of the danger, Taichi begins to panic about a potential citywide massacre. Nina leaks that it's currently at the ruins, but Taichi warns her not to be so loose-lipped with top-secret intel. She explains that the Adventurers Guild is suppressing the information to prevent a mass panic from destabilizing the neighboring nations. Looking at the exhausted Himari, Tachi finally understands the weight of her burden. Grizz admits that although they never laid eyes on the Cerberus, its overwhelming pressure was enough to signal their certain defeat. However, the beast cannot remain unchecked, so the guild is currently assembling an elite strike force of high-ranking adventurers. Realizing the hour is late, Grizz prepares to depart, but Naina is far too exhausted to move. Seeing their fatigue, Tachi graciously invites the party to stay for dinner. He wishes to show his gratitude to the adventurers who maintain the peace, and Grizz's party gladly accepts his hospitality. They take the extra time to indulge in some much-needed relaxation, petting the adorable berry rabbits. Naina tosses a ball and Monica playfully fetches it. As Grizz relaxes with a rabbit on his lap, the party finds themselves growing deeply attached to these creatures, despite their status as monsters. Just then, Tachi arrives with a feast fit for a king. He serves them dragon steak, corn potage soup, fresh salad, and warm fluffy bread. The moment the scent of dragon meat hits the air, Luke snaps to attention. He immediately begins devouring his portion, leaving the others stunned by the sight of his intense appetite. Setting their shock aside, the adventurers dive into the extravagant steak. They question the source of the meat, but Tachi remains tight-lipped about its draconic origins. They marvel at the incredible flavor, claiming they've never tasted anything so delicious, especially when paired with the perfect bread. Tachi is pleased to see them satisfied, and after a final cup of tea, the group takes their leave. Once they are gone, Luke checks with Tachi to confirm they are alone. He suggests they head out for some exercise, but a worried Tachi warns him to stay indoors. With the Cerberus lurking, the area is too dangerous, but Luke scoffs at the idea that such a beast could ever pose a threat to him. He immediately leads Taichi outside, determined to prove his overwhelming power. Taichi questions if he's truly ready, but Luke scoffs, claiming the Cerberus will be nothing more than a light snack. Moments later, Luke's instincts flare as he picks up the Cerberus's scent. He points Taichi toward the beast's location, leaving the boy baffled by his tracking skills. Luke boasts that his sheer strength allows him to sense the monster's very presence. Taichi warns that they must avoid any nearby adventurers, and Luke quickly catches his drift. He signals for Taichi to stay alert and keep his head down. He then pinpoints exactly where the nearest hunting parties are located. Luke doesn't give a damn if the local adventurers witness him taking down the legendary beast. He charges straight into the clearing, letting out a thunderous roar to challenge the monster to show its face. And right on cue, the nightmare emerges. The Cerberus reveals its terrifying form, boasting 3 heads just like the ancient legends. The beast is a whirlwind of fury, proving to be every bit as ferocious as the stories claimed. Taichi shudders, realizing this monstrosity is even more menacing than the dragon they previously faced. Yet Luke stands his ground, staring down the 3-headed terror without a shred of fear. Meanwhile, Taichi watches as nearby adventurers scramble to report the sighting to the guild. The Cerberus suddenly fires a volley of magic spheres, but Luke effortlessly leaps high into the air to evade the blast. He retaliates with his moonlit claws, delivering a strike that sends the massive beast flying. However, the legendary guardian is still standing, far from defeated. Taichi's concern grows as he realizes the Cerberus is even more resilient than they expected. Taichi wonders if defeating it is even worth it, doubting the creature is even edible. However, he notices the Cerberus's fur looks incredibly soft and fluffy. Driven by impulse, he reaches out his hand toward the beast. To everyone's shock, he tames the legendary monster in an instant. Luke is furious that Taichi interfered with the battle. Taichi offers a quick apology, admitting he simply couldn't help himself. Suddenly, the Cerberus lets out a soft, high-pitched bark. The massive monster shrinks into a tiny, adorable 3-headed puppy that calls Taichi master and begs to be held. Taichi hasn't just captured the Cerberus. He realizes he can actually understand every word it says. This confirms that his taming attempt was a total success. Taichi feels like he's ascending to heaven from the sheer fluffy sensation. The 3 heads then look up and ask their new master for names. Taichi begins naming them one by one, starting from the left. The left head is granted the name Null. The middle head is dubbed Pino, and the head on the right becomes Chloro. Taichi lifts them high, marveling at how small and soft they've become compared to their original form. Pino claims this form is superior because they can stay close to Taichi, but Taichi notices they are covered in wounds. He immediately begins treating their injuries with powerful healing magic. This powerful skill exclusively targets his tamed beasts. The Cerberus rejoices at the instant recovery, praising Taichi's power, while Luke feels slighted that his damage was erased so easily. Taichi is relieved to see the pain vanish as Cerberus returns to full strength. Overcome by the creature's sudden cuteness, Taichi pulls them into a warm embrace. Luke warns that they must depart before the unconscious adventurers wake up and cause more trouble. Taichi takes a moment to move the fallen warriors to a safe location. With the area cleared, Taichi ponders what his future holds with Cerberus. The sun rises and Taichi finally awakens. He finds Cerberus sleeping peacefully right next to him. He recalls the chaotic events that led to him bringing the beast home. Looking around the room, he sees Luke, along with a group of fairy rabbits, all nestled comfortably on their beanbags. Luke is deeply moved by the sight of so many fluffy creatures resting together in the morning light. He has a mountain of questions for Cerberus, specifically why they were guarding the ruins. Remembering their vow to never be lonely again, he realizes how difficult their long isolation must have been. He gently pats the beast, noticing one of the heads finally stirring. He immediately apologizes for interrupting their slumber. Taichi then realizes that only the head named Noel has fully woken up. Noel explains the mystery. Though they share one body, each head possesses its own consciousness. Taichi asks if they're truly comfortable in their new home, and Noel confirms they couldn't be happier. They lived in constant fear, hunted by humans wherever they fled, making those ruins their final desperate refuge. Hearing this brings a profound sense of relief to Taki. By taming them, he finally provides the sanctuary they have always needed. The right head, Chloro, stirs awake and admits that life here is a dream come true. He confesses he has always longed to encounter a kind soul like Taki. Taki feels a pang of sorrow, realizing the sheer magnitude of their past suffering. Having rescued them, he feels truly blessed to have crossed paths with Cerberus. He vows to protect them at all costs before heading off to prepare their morning feast. A short while later, the cafe doors swing open for business. His first customers are Grizz and his party, looking absolutely drained after a sudden morning emergency. They stop by for a quick pick-me-up, hoping to see Taki and his fluffy companions. Seeing their exhaustion, Taki is reminded of his own grueling days in the corporate world. To reward his regulars, he offers free bunny cookies for the rabbits, instantly reigniting the party's spirits. Taki then reveals they have a new family member, calling out Pino, Chloro, and Noel. The seasoned adventurers are instantly frozen in shock. They immediately begin analyzing the three-headed dog, noting its striking resemblance to the legendary Cerberus they were hunting. Reports indicated the Cerberus vanished from the ruins after a brutal clash with a massive wolf-like monster. Grizz mentions the guild assumes the original Cerberus was slain, meaning this pup must be its offspring. Harry suggests that the Cerberus must have sacrificed its life to ensure its child's survival. The rest of the party solemnly agrees, convinced this is the tragic truth. Grizz concludes that Taichi must have accidentally tamed the beast, unaware it was actually a Cerberus pup. Nina remarks that Taichi is a complete enigma, especially with so many powerful familiars at his beck and call. Ultimately, they decide it's fine since Taichi has the creature under control, leaving them with nothing to worry about. Taichi asks if they've finished their discussion, and they confirm they're done. He then brings out a feast for Luke, the Cerberus, and the rest of the gang. Taichi tends to Luke and the pup while the adventurers take over feeding the berry rabbits. With a new member officially joining the family, life at Cafe Fluffy remains as peaceful as ever. Meanwhile, the guildmaster, Himari, scours the forest for the missing Cerberus while other adventurers speculate it's already dead. She refuses to believe it could just vanish, as she's desperate to witness the legendary beast for herself. It's finally time to head back, but Himari decides to take a quick detour on her way. While navigating through the woods, she suddenly encounters a pack of orcs who lock their sights on her. The monsters growl with hostility, ready to launch an attack at any second. However, Himari has no time for distractions, as her only priority is seeing those cute berry rabbits. She instantly unleashes her devastating cyclone magic. The orcs are crushed in a heartbeat, ensuring they don't waste another second of her time. After clearing the path, she sighs, wishing these monsters were even half as cute as the rabbits. She finally makes her way back to the warmth of Cafe Fluffy. Upon her arrival, she warmly greets Taichi. Taichi notes that she certainly looks like she's been kept busy. She explains that she's already finished her work and is only here to play with the berry rabbits. However, she's completely blindsided by the sight of a literal Cerberus sitting right there in Cafe Fluffy. Seeing her frozen in a state of pure shock, Taichi asks what the matter is. He introduces the cafe's newest members, Pino, Chloro, and Noel, hoping they'll all get along, but she's far too stunned to respond. Taichi then asks for her order, and she instinctively requests a black tea. While Taichi prepares the drink, Himari realizes that a three-headed monster can only be one thing, a legendary Cerberus. No matter how she looks at it, a disaster-class beast is now a regular at Cafe Fluffy, and the realization fills her with a strange excitement. She eventually takes a seat, her face a mask of nervous anticipation. Trembling, she reaches out to touch the Cerberus's fur. She is immediately captivated by the creature's god-tier fluffiness. She recalls hearing that certain monsters can alter their size once tamed, but she never expected to witness such a rare sight with her own eyes. A Cerberus is in a completely different league than a berry rabbit, and since no ordinary tamer could ever control a disaster-grade monster, Taichi must be the most powerful tamer in existence. She wonders who he truly is, but the answer remains out of reach. Taichi notices her staring at him from across the room. He offers her a simple smile before turning his attention to Luke. He then serves the black tea to Himari. She decides that no matter what, she won't let Cafe Fluffy disappear, vowing to use her authority as the guildmaster to protect Taichi from the shadows. The next day at closing time, Luke and the others try to wake Taichi for his dinner. Meanwhile, Taichi is lost in a blissful dream, where he's the most popular man in the world among the fluffies. Losing his patience, Luke exerts his overwhelming pressure on Taichi, forcing him to bolt awake immediately. After serving the meals, Taichi ponders his next move, realizing that even after all this time, there is still so much about this world he has yet to discover. Today he sets his sights on the Tamers Guild for a visit. Upon his arrival, Shalti greets him with her usual energetic welcome. Taki admits he wants to deepen his knowledge of Tamers, which leaves Shalti stunned. She finds it hard to believe someone with such high-tier familiars is so clueless, though Taki simply blames his rural upbringing. To aid his journey, she presents him with an extensive monster encyclopedia. The guide is detailed, covering the diverse habitats of monsters across the land. Taki searches for information on his own companions, but surprisingly, there's no record of Cerner or Lu to be found. It turns out Taki has a very specific interest, the world's fluffiest monsters. Suddenly his gaze locks onto a creature he absolutely cannot ignore. He buries his face in the pages, completely captivated. He has discovered a rare cat-type monster within the text. Shalti identifies it as a forest cat, and Taki is instantly obsessed with learning everything about it. She explains that to find one, he'll have to venture into the forests of a neighboring country. The catch? A standard carriage ride would take an entire month to get there. Taki realizes that by riding on Luke, he could make the trip in a fraction of that time. Seeing his excitement, Shalti remarks that a forest cat would be the perfect, adorable mascot for Taki's cafe. She hands him a map to chart his course. Taki wastes no time and rushes home to discuss the sudden expedition with Luke. He immediately rouses Luke from his deep, peaceful slumber. A groggy Luke demands to know what's more important than his sleep, and Taki reveals his plan to cross the border. Luke identifies the destination as the Azerun kingdom, while Taki declares his mission, to find and tame the elusive forest cat. Cerberus is thrilled at the prospect of his circle of friends growing even larger. Taki notes that a standard carriage would take a full month to arrive, but Luke scoffs at the notion. Horse-drawn wagons are no match for the speed of a noble Fenrir, and he promises to get them there in an instant. He offers Taki a seat on his back, though Taki hesitates, remembering the sheer intensity of their last ride. Luke snaps at his reluctant expression, forcing Taki to claim he's just overwhelmed with gratitude. Cerberus chimes in, declaring that he wants to join the expedition as well. He offers his own back for Taki to ride, but Luke immediately tells him to stay out of their business. Luke reminds him of his previous loss to established dominance, while Cerberus whines about the loneliness of staying behind. Luke leans in, entrusting Cerberus with the critical mission of guarding the berry rabbits. He explains that Cerberus is the only one he can truly rely on while they are away. Feeling honored to be trusted, Cerberus begins wagging his tails in pure, unbridled excitement. Taki finds it impossible to resist the allure of those massive, fluffy tails. As it turns out, Cerberus absolutely loves being pampered and stroked. Taki basks in the softness as the fluff brushes against his hands and face. Luke barks at Cerberus to stop getting so chummy and focus on his duty to protect the house. Taki's final concern is the food supply. Since Cerberus can't cook, he'll need to hire a temporary worker. He heads to the Commerce Guild to investigate the rules for hiring additional staff. The receptionist clarifies that there are no specific restrictions holding him back. He is free to use this guild as a mediator, or simply recruit someone on his own. Taki decides to handle the recruitment personally to ensure no one treats his monsters with anything but respect. Himari spots Taichi and greets him immediately. Taichi is thrilled by the chance encounter and mentions he's looking to hire some short-term help. Hearing this, Himari instantly volunteers, eager to spend her days surrounded by the berry rabbits. Taichi is stunned by her overwhelming enthusiasm. She asks anxiously if she's not qualified, but Taichi notes her young age might cause some complications. She insists her age is irrelevant, though Taichi remains skeptical. Just then, he notices another young girl nearby expertly managing a flower shop all on her own. Himari explains that it's perfectly normal for someone her age to run a business in this world. She's confident the workload at the cafe will be light, and Taichi agrees, especially since his biggest troublemaker, Luke, is coming with him. He invites her to the cafe to discuss the details, and Himari happily follows them to the shop. Upon arrival, she receives a warm welcome from the berry rabbits and the mighty Cerberus. Himari is overwhelmed with excitement, imagining the life that awaits her as an official employee. Over tea, Taichi reveals he's heading out to recruit a new fluffy companion, a journey that will take about 25 days. Curious, Himari asks exactly what kind of beast he plans to tame. He reveals his target is a forest cat from the neighboring country, a creature Himari knows is legendary for its soft fur. While Taichi worries the 25-day stint is too long, Himari is actually shocked he can reach the Azerun kingdom and return so quickly. She mentions she's defeated a forest cat before but never got to feel its fur, making her even more excited for his return. Taichi decides he'll set off as soon as Himari is fully trained and ready to take over. Himari reassures him that as a free adventurer, she is more than capable of handling the responsibility. Taichi agrees to start her training immediately and promises to settle her wages before he leaves. He offers her 10,000 shells a day, a staggering amount that leaves Himari protesting that it's far too much for the work. Taki makes it a priority to ensure his family is properly compensated and cared for. Himari promises to look after them, fueled by her genuine love for the familiars. Taki begins her training, outfitting her in the official Cafe Fluffy apron. This uniform serves as the ultimate proof of her employment at the cafe. Taki introduces Himari to his familiars, announcing she is officially joining the team. With the introductions finished, he begins explaining her daily duties. Her first task is a morning health check, gauging their vitality based on their energy levels. Himari assumes these powerful monsters rarely fall ill due to their immense strength. Next, Taki leads her away to demonstrate the proper way to bathe the familiars. He reveals a shack in the backyard that serves as a dedicated bathroom for the creatures. Taki explains that she has full access to the towels and supplies kept inside. Finally, he presents the main attraction, the bathtub. Himari is absolutely stunned to see a bathtub designated specifically for familiars. When he demonstrates the faucets providing instant hot water, she is baffled by the magic. Unable to explain the mechanics, Taki simply attributes it to technology from his homeland. Luke wastes no time jumping into the tub to kick off the bath. Taki is pleased to see the rest of the familiars eagerly joining in on the soak. He then provides a hands-on lesson on how to properly scrub their bodies. Himari is startled by the sight, watching as the monster's fluffy fur completely flattens. Taki reassures her that it is perfectly normal for their coats to look like that when wet. After the bath, the familiars require a thorough drying with the towels. Himari realizes her magic would be far more efficient for a task like this. Unleashing her wind magic, she dries their fur in a mere instant. Taichi is thoroughly impressed by how quickly she finishes the job. Following this, he trains her on store operations and how to handle customer orders, all while managing the high-energy familiars at the same time. With her training complete, Taichi packs his bags as the time for his departure arrives. He commands his familiars to remain behind and guard the house in his absence. He informs Cerberus that Himari will be arriving tomorrow morning to run the shop. The familiars ask if they can play with the customers, and Taichi gives them his approval. He kneels to pet them, promising to bring back legendary souvenirs from the neighboring country. Suddenly, Loop barks at Taichi, demanding that he hurry up. He stands up immediately to appease the moody and impatient Loop. Taichi offers a sincere apology for keeping everyone waiting so long. He confesses that he just couldn't help it because he loves them all so much. Hearing this sudden declaration of love leaves Loop completely flustered. Finally ready to head out, Taichi receives a warm farewell from Cerberus. He mounts Loop, planning to reach the next town before dawn to avoid scaring locals with the wolf's massive size. Taichi reassures Loop that he will protect him regardless of the situation. Loop scoffs, reminding him that he is clearly the weaker one of the two. Taichi realizes he is now under Luke's absolute protection. He finds Luke incredibly reliable as the duo continues their journey through the night. By morning, Taichi witnesses a breathtaking sunrise illuminating the mountain peaks. It's a refreshing change from his past life as a corporate slave who never had time for himself. Back then, his only solace was visiting a cat cafe once a month on his rare days off. Everything changed when a chance encounter with the cat god ended in a fatal accident. Reborn in this world after death, he was gifted divine skills and opened his dream Cafe Fluffy. Now he serves loyal regulars and lives his best life using the broken abilities granted by the cat god. He consults the map toward the Azerun kingdom, determined to track down the legendary forest cat. Luke urges him to hop on his back so they can reach the next town instead of camping out. Overwhelmed by Luke's kindness, Taichi buries his face in the wolf's luxurious fur in awe. He prays that this momentum leads him to the forest cat as quickly as possible. However, the moment Luke kicks into a full-blown sprint, panic sets in. Taichi screams for him to slow down, but Luke just calls him weak for complaining about the speed. Luke scoffs, claiming that running at top speed is the only way to truly feel alive. Taichi looks back at the landscape, insisting they should take it easy and enjoy the view. Luke suggests they focus on preparing supplies for their upcoming break instead. Suddenly, a monstrous chicken lunges at them in a surprise ambush. Luke obliterates the beast instantly, and Taichi quickly stores the carcass in his magic bag. As night falls, they find the perfect vantage point to admire the dazzling starry sky. Luke asks if this sight is truly rare, and Taichi confirms that back home, something like this almost never happens. Luke then breaks the silence, reminding him that it is finally time to eat. Taichi opens his bag and prepares to unleash his high-level cooking skill on the meat, but he quickly hits a snag when he realizes he's lacking the necessary ingredients. Taichi rummages through his storage and pulls out the missing supplies to finish the job. He activates his cooking skill once more, serving up a gourmet dish made from monster chicken meat. He generously tells Luke to dig in and eat to his heart's content. Luke is instantly impressed, praising Taichi's incredibly handy cooking skills and the delicious flavor of the meal. Finally, Taichi takes a bite for himself to see if it lives up to the hype. The taste is so incredible that Taichi feels like he could eat these monster meat dishes forever. After more traveling, they arrive at Charmtown, a hub located on the border of the Shulkut and Azerun kingdoms. As Taichi enters the town, the massive crowds and bustling energy prove just how lively the area is. Taichi realizes their first priority is finding the Tamer's Guild, as they need an inn that can accommodate a monster like Luke. Luke catches him staring, but Taichi simply admits he was admiring the wolf's magnificent coat of fur. A flustered Luke claims such beauty is natural for a noble Fenrir, while Taichi begins scouting for an inn. They eventually find a place to stay, though Luke mocks Taichi for being so exhausted after a simple walk. Taichi can only hope to one day have enough stamina to actually keep up with his legendary companion. Luke then asks him if his obsession with forest cats is truly that deep. Taichi instantly surges with energy, explaining that his very survival depends on the cuteness of cats. He declares that just the thought of petting a cat is enough to make him give his absolute best. Luke ponders the battles of the past while Taki remains by his side. Taki's mind wanders back to the cats at the cat cafe. He can't help but reminisce about the pure joy of playing with them. Suddenly, Luke calls him out for making a bizarre expression. Taki apologizes, enjoying the feel of Luke's paw, while Luke demands to know why he's smirking like a fool. Taki simply admits that he finds Luke adorable. Luke scoffs, claiming a noble Fenrir like himself couldn't possibly be cute. He refuses to be lumped in with those lowly fairy rabbits. Taki counters that cuteness knows no rank, and to him, all his familiars are precious. Overwhelmed, Luke turns his head away. Realizing Luke is just being shy, Taki finds him even more endearing, prompting Luke to tell him to go to sleep immediately. Taki concedes and wishes the Fenrir a good night. He promises a feast upon waking and gives Luke a final pat before drifting off. Later, they scour the town for exotic ingredients, though Taki has to shut down Luke's request for dragon meat. Instead, he suggests they try the legendary wild minotaur tail soup. Taki secures 2 steaming bowls for himself and his companion. The flavor is absolutely divine. Luke finds the soup equally impressive. Satisfied, Taki suggests they continue their hunt for even more premium meats. Soon after, he joins the massive queue to enter the Azerun kingdom at the border. Luke questions why they don't simply leap over the massive city walls. Taichi explains they must follow protocol to avoid unwanted attention and maintain the peace of their fluffy cafe. When their turn arrives, the guard reacts with expected shock at the sight of the massive wolf. However, the guard quickly softens and even praises Luke's majestic fur, leaving the wolf feeling quite proud. Taichi officially introduces himself to the gatekeepers as a professional Tamer. He presents his guild card as undeniable proof of his status. After verifying his registration, the guards grant them entry through the gates. Taichi breathes a sigh of relief that Luke managed to stay on his best behavior this time. The guards bid them a safe journey as they head into the city. Now Taichi is finally ready to explore the legendary forest town of the Azerun kingdom. They arrive in Fallen, a beautiful settlement nestled within the great forest. Everywhere he looks, Taichi sees intricate wooden carvings of wolves and various monsters. He finds himself genuinely impressed by the craftsmanship of these local artworks. He turns to Luke, asking if he appreciates the high quality of the statues. He points out one that resembles Luke, but the wolf snarls, refusing to be compared to such weaklings. Taichi quickly clarifies he was only referring to their physical resemblance. Noticing the tension, the shopkeeper asks if the familiar is offended, prompting Taichi to apologize for the disturbance. The shopkeeper laughs it off, acknowledging that Luke is clearly a superior beast far beyond his humble carvings. Luke's ego is instantly stroked, while the shopkeeper mentions legends of tamers who can actually speak with monsters. He asks if Taichi possesses such a gift, and Taichi confirms he understands every word his companion says. His familiar is clearly fuming after being compared to a pack of lowly wolves. The shopkeeper asks if he's a newcomer to this fallen town, and Taki gives a quick nod. The shopkeeper points him toward a path on the right, leading to an inn called the Forest Cat Stop. Taki wonders if the name implies actual forest cats, but he worries if familiars are even permitted inside. The shopkeeper reassures him it's perfectly fine, as a fellow tamer runs the entire establishment. Luke is also relieved that they can continue their journey and stay together under one roof. Following the directions, Taki finally arrives at the legendary Forest Cat Inn. There, the owner personally greets him at the reception desk. When Taki asks if his familiar can stay too, the owner agrees without hesitation. He promises to prepare a spacious room immediately, earning a grateful thanks from Taki. Suddenly, Taki's eyes widen as a literal forest cat approaches, carrying his room keys. He is instantly struck by overwhelming amazement. The owner proudly introduces the cat as one of his loyal familiars. While his younger sister helps out occasionally, the owner mostly relies on his familiars to keep the inn running. Realizing this is a literal cat paradise, Taki thanks the heavens, leaving the owner completely baffled. Taki then reveals his goal is to tame his own forest cats, which leaves the owner scratching his head. Since they lack strength and magic, the owner asks why, only for Taki to confess his obsession with their fluffiness. The man is absolutely stunned until Taki preaches the gospel of supreme fluff. It doesn't take long for the owner to realize he's right. Calling Taki an intriguing fellow, the man introduces himself as Aries the Tamer, and Taki follows suit. Aries reveals that he was once an adventurer, but lacking the strength to succeed, he was forced to inherit this inn from his parents. Since forest cats were the only monsters his weak skills could tame, Aries was never strong enough to join a high-ranking party. Taki realizes why the man struggled, knowing cats aren't exactly powerhouses. While Aries explains his past, Luke observes the feline. Ultimately, Aries admits that his inn is failing just as miserably as his adventuring career did. Taki finds this hard to believe given the adorable cats roaming around, but Aries hints at a shameful story behind the struggle. Regardless, he promises to provide the best service possible during Taki's stay, and Taki graciously accepts the hospitality. He realizes the people of this world lack any appreciation for small animals because they're seen as monsters, but he's certain they'd change their minds if they saw their charm. Currently, the cats only exist to help Aries with his chores, not to entertain guests. Taki wonders what would happen if they actually interacted with customers. He senses a massive opportunity to turn this place into an exclusively popular destination. Aries then instructs Taki to follow him so he can show him to his room. Suddenly, Taki shouts out a proposal. Why not transform this place into an inn where people can interact with the cats? Aries is stunned by the sudden passion. Taki declares cats the world's greatest treasure, praising their innocent eyes, fluffy fur, and elegant slender forms. He even raves about the beautiful flowers blooming on their bodies, leaving Aries breaking into a cold sweat. Taki continues to bombard him with a relentless stream of cat-themed business ideas. Growing bored of the lecture, Luke asks Taki what he actually intends to do. He argues that no matter how cute they look, humans won't easily accept them since they are still classified as monsters. Taki reveals he has a secret plan ready, confident he can make it work just like his previous cafe. Taki activates his creation skill, manifesting a cat toy straight from his imagination. Luke is confused, so Taki swings it in his face to no effect. Realizing he needs a feline test subject, he heads off to ask Aries for permission. Suddenly, Taki catches the scent of something delicious. He heads off, eagerly anticipating the upcoming dinner. Aries, busy preparing the meal, notices Taichi and asks if he needs any assistance. Taichi reveals his newly crafted invention and asks for permission to play with the cats. Suddenly, a forest cat locks eyes with Taichi and Niao. He is instantly overwhelmed by how incredibly adorable the creature is. As Taichi swings the toy, a crowd of forest cats begins to gather around him. He exerts massive self-control to keep his hands off them, fearing he might lose their trust. He flicks the teaser toward them, and the cats immediately lock onto the target. Taichi jerks the toy back, realizing his handmade teaser is working perfectly. Just as he predicted, the cats begin pouncing and playing with the device. Taichi is thrilled to see them lunging at the toy with such pure delight. Aries watches from the sidelines in awe, having never seen his cats play so energetically. Taichi admits that he is also stunned by the overwhelming success of his creation. Seeing their reaction, Taichi prepares himself for an epic play session. In this wholesome moment, he decides to dedicate himself to crafting even more toys. Later at the inn, Taichi is staring intensely at his teaser when Luke interrupts. Luke calls him out for his obsessive staring, giving Taichi quite a shock. Even so, he can't stop himself from wearing a creepy, satisfied grin. He is now more determined than ever to craft toys that will win over the forest cats. He then turns to Luke and asks if these forest cats are capable of human speech. Luke explains that it's impossible for forest cats tamed by Aries to speak. However, he notes that if they encounter a large pack, the leader might actually possess the gift of gab. Taki realizes he'll have to tame an entire pride just to find a single feline capable of conversation. This triggers a memory of his encounter with the cat god, who was also a talking feline. Once again, Taki finds himself lost in thought regarding the mystery of vocal cats. Luke snaps him back to reality, asking if he plans to start crafting toys immediately, and Taki doesn't even try to deny it. Suddenly, Luke's expression shifts into something uncharacteristically somber. Taki wonders if he's inadvertently made Luke feel neglected. To make amends, he uses his creation magic to craft a special flying disc specifically for Luke. The new invention immediately catches Luke's eye. When Luke asks what it is, Taki explains he made the disc so the two of them could play together. He mentions, however, that they'll need to find a wide open space to use it properly. Luke acts tough, claiming he's too mature for games, but agrees to try it since Taki went to the trouble of using his skills. Taki sees right through the act. Luke is clearly dying to play, which is surprisingly cute. Taki then gathers a few more cat toys, including a tunnel and a ball filled with bells. He hopes the rest of the forest cats will find these new items entertaining. As soon as he tosses the ball, one of the cats begins chasing it with wild abandon. The creature pounces and plays with the toy, filled with sheer feline curiosity. Taki finds the entire display absolutely adorable, but Luke is impatient, demanding they head out for their disc game immediately. Taki gives in and agrees to go right away. Just then, Arts arrives to investigate the noise, only to find his cats having the absolute time of their lives. Surprised by his cat's hidden energy, Tachi feels a wave of relief seeing them enjoy themselves so much. Tachi explains to Art that allowing customers to throw balls for the cats would be a massive hit. Tachi then excuses himself as an impatient Luke is practically dragging him out to play. Art asks if he can try his hand at the ball-throwing game, and Tachi gives him an encouraging nod. He also points out the custom tunnel he constructed specifically for the forest cats. Art feels incredibly fortunate to have a customer as thoughtful as Tachi. Tachi humbly replies that the pleasure of meeting Art was all his. Luke quickly hurries Tachi along, desperate to try out this mysterious flying disc gadget. Luke leads Tachi through the dense forest until they emerge into a vast, sprawling grassland. It's the perfect spot. Tachi even imagines bringing a lunch and lounging here with his other familiars. Luke snaps him out of his daydream, his excitement boiling over as he asks how the disc actually works. Tachi tells his eager companion to hold his horses for just a moment. He launches the flying disc into the air, watching it soar into the distance. Tachi then instructs Luke to chase down and catch the disc, explaining the simple rules of the game. Luke's blank expression makes it painfully obvious that he doesn't grasp the concept at all. Tachi is momentarily troubled, realizing that even a basic game like this is completely foreign to this world. He urges Luke to just give it a shot, promising him that he'll understand the fun once he tries. With that, Tachi winds up and hurls the flying disc with everything he's got. But before it can even travel a few feet, Luke snatches it out of the air with blinding speed. Tachi stands there speechless, having completely underestimated Luke's godlike physical prowess. Luke boldly declares the game is far too easy, leaving Taki feeling utterly defeated. Pivoting his strategy, Taki challenges Luke to catch the disc only at the very last second before it hits the ground. Taki explains the new rules, and while Luke is a bit baffled, he's more than ready to give it a shot. Luke asks if a last-second catch will be more impressive, and Taki promises him it'll be far more entertaining. He launches the disc into the air once more. Both of them wait in tense anticipation until Taki finally gives the signal to strike. Luke taps into his primal instincts and godlike agility to close the gap in a flash. He snatches the flying disc just before it hits the dirt, proving his skills are as legendary as ever. Watching him, Taki realizes that Luke must have been holding back an immense amount of power earlier. As Luke returns the disc, Taki showers him with praise, knowing Luke is actually a softie despite his sharp tongue. Within seconds, Luke is already demanding that Taki throw the disc even further this time. Taki winds up and hurls the flying disc into the sky again. However, the disc barely travels any distance at all due to a clumsy mistake. It's a pathetic throw that offers absolutely no challenge for someone of Luke's caliber. Luke shoots him a mocking glare as if to say, "Is that it?" forcing a flustered Taki to apologize for the blunder. Luke questions if throwing is really that difficult, but Taki explains that distance is the real challenge. Determined to show him how it's done, Luke takes the disc to try it out himself. To his embarrassment, the disc plummets to the ground just a mere meter away. His wounded pride won't allow him to give up after such a pathetic display. He refocuses, attempting to launch the disc with proper form and everything he's got. This time, the projectile soars into the distance. Clearing over 100 meters, Luke claims the feat was far easier than expected. Taichi realizes that with Luke's monstrous strength, everything is a breeze. Luke tasks Taichi with the retrieval, but the boy complains he's far too weak for the job. Taichi eventually returns to the inn exhausted, only to hear the voices of several girls. He wonders who else could have possibly found their way here. To his surprise, a group of girls are playing with the forest cats using his handmade toys. It's clear to Taichi that his feline inventions are a massive hit. Arts welcomes him back, confirming the toy's popularity as his sister asks if Taichi is the creator. Arts introduces his sister, Lucy, who reveals she balances life as both an adventurer and an innkeeper. Taichi formally introduces himself to the energetic girl. Lucy then presents her fellow adventurers and friends, Marilia and Bianca. They gush over the adorable forest cats, with Bianca claiming she never wants to hunt monsters again. Taichi can't help but agree that the forest cats are incredibly cute. He watches as the cats happily navigate the tunnel he constructed earlier. Seeing the potential for a successful business, he decides to pivot the inn toward a cat-focused theme. However, he knows letting the cats roam the guest rooms freely is a bad idea. To solve this, he decides to construct a massive cat tower for them. Taichi quickly identifies the perfect vacant space on the wall for the project. He asks Lucy for permission to install the climbing boards immediately. He explains that since forest cats crave high ground, they need a dedicated space to climb and rest. Lucy nods eagerly, agreeing to the plan and offering her own hands to help build it. She mentions they have spare wood in storage for a wall-mounted staircase, though Taki wonders if such a sudden renovation is truly okay. Lucy quickly reassures him that there is absolutely nothing to worry about. She is fully committed to any changes necessary to ensure the inn finally succeeds. Admitting that the adventurer life isn't a perfect fit, she expresses a deep desire to dedicate herself to the inn. Taki realizes how much she cherishes the legacy left by her parents and vows to respect and support her feelings. Moments later, Lucy finds herself distracted, playfully swinging a cat teaser for the felines. Arts then approaches and reveals his big decision. The inn will officially become a place where customers can bond with forest cats. This means Taki has the green light to set up the notice board himself, a task he's more than happy to handle. He's thrilled to bring the concepts from his own cafe Fluffy to life, creating a world where humans and monsters coexist. Arts offers his sincere thanks for everything, promising to visit Taki's cafe the moment the inn is back on its feet. He extends his hand, offering a handshake as a symbol of his gratitude and their new friendship. Taki happily accepts, looking forward to supporting Arts for the remainder of his stay. Later, he heads to the backyard storage where Lucy is already busy prepping wooden planks. Taki praises her craftsmanship, and Lucy explains that she's always been in charge of the wood, giving her plenty of experience. She insists on doing the work herself, rather than burdening a guest, a level of consideration that Taki finds truly admirable. Lucy confesses that while she once dreamed of adventure, the constant looming threat of death has made her hesitate. When Taki asks if she plans to be an adventurer forever, she admits she hasn't looked quite that far ahead yet. She smiles, hoping to find enough treasure to secure a better life for her brother, leaving Taki deeply moved by her selflessness. With the boards finalized, they transition to the final phase of completing the cat tower. Meanwhile, Luke enjoys a peaceful, well-deserved nap. Lucy and Taki finally manage to secure all the boards into a perfect staircase formation. Taki admires the result, while Marilia teases Lucy about being a better carpenter than an adventurer, earning herself a sharp retort. Arts carefully inspects the craftsmanship, ensuring the platforms are sturdy enough for the cats to lounge on. He then turns to his forest cats, inviting them to give the new tower a test run. Without a moment's hesitation, the forest cats begin their rapid ascent. They perch upon the boards, resembling divine, fortune-bringing cat statues. The other cats quickly follow suit, all scrambling toward the highest vantage point. This immediately sparks a territorial dispute as they clash for the coveted top spot. Lucy watches in frustration as the cats grow agitated and begin bickering on her hard work. Taki steps in, advising her to just let them settle their differences for now. Arts then lets out a sharp clap to summon the entire feline group. They obey his command instantly, descending from the boards in perfect unison. Taki is stunned by their discipline, realizing these cats are as obedient as they are cute. Buzzing with energy, Arts finally announces that dinner is served. He calls out to Marilia and Bianca, inviting them to join the group for a hearty stew. Arts serves the steaming meal to everyone gathered around the table. The group shares a lively conversation as they enjoy their dinner together. Lucy confidently boasts that she can handle everything on her own now, empowered by the success of the cat toys. Taki observes that Lucy has a genuine hidden talent for toy making, satisfied that he helped her kickstart this new path. Taki can't wait to see how legendary this place becomes by his next visit. For now, his absolute priority is taming his very own forest cats. The following morning, he sets out into the dense woods. Luke suggests using tasty bait to speed things up, but Taki reminds him they're here to tame, not to slaughter. Luke understands, though he secretly hopes to snag a dragon in a single shot while they're at it. Taki knows Luke deserves another dragon steak for his help, but he wishes the warrior would focus on taming without causing injury. Just then, Luke asks if they should venture even deeper into the wilderness. Taki insists on searching the outskirts, believing the weak forest cats wouldn't dare retreat into the deeper, more dangerous zones. Yet despite the rumors of them being everywhere, they don't encounter a single forest cat. Taki finds the silence suspicious and wonders if they've wandered into the wrong forest entirely. Taking matters into his own hands, he opens his status window and activates his search skill. This powerful ability should pinpoint the exact location of their feline targets. Noticing the sudden change, Luke asks what's happening, and Taki explains he's using a skill to track the cats down. Luke is stunned by Taki's unique abilities, while Taki himself is oblivious to how rare this skill actually is. Suddenly, the skill highlights the cat's exact coordinates, impressing Taki with its sheer accuracy. He immediately informs Luke that a group of forest cats is waiting just ahead. Luke is skeptical, as he hasn't sensed their presence at all. Sharpening his senses, Luke realizes that powerful enemies are nearby, forcing the forest cats into hiding. Taki grows uneasy at the mention of stronger monsters, but Luke immediately suggests charging in to face them. Taki is completely blindsided by his partner's reckless enthusiasm. Taki asks Luke if he's truly certain, recalling his earlier warnings about the monster's overwhelming strength. Luke proudly declares that as a noble Fenrir, defeat is an absolute impossibility for him. He clarifies that the beast was only a threat from a forest cat's perspective. Now, he signals for Taki to mount his back for the hunt. Taki nervously pleads for the massive wolf to be gentle. Yet even at a slow pace, Luke's velocity is nearly too much for Taki to handle. After covering some ground, their target finally comes into view. The enemy is revealed to be a menacing and massive monster crow. Luke scoffs, labeling the bird a coward that only preys on the weak, and gives a confident nod when asked if he can reach it. He commands Taki to hold on for dear life as he leaps into the sky to intercept the avian beast. Startled by the sudden ambush, the crow attempts a desperate counterattack. Luke effortlessly evades the strike, lunging at the pathetic bird with his razor-sharp claws. He obliterates the crow instantly, declaring his utter disdain for predators who bully the defenseless. Luke instructs Taki to harvest the carcass for materials, leaving Taki touched by the Fenrir's protective nature. Suddenly, a suspicious rustling sound emanates from the nearby bushes. Taki flinches, fearing another monster, but Luke tells him there's no need to hide while he is there to protect him. Taki zeroes in on the noise, spotting two ears poking out followed by a faint familiar meow. He's taken aback to find the group of forest cats cowering within the thick brush. Taki is instantly overwhelmed by the urge to pet the adorable creatures. However, he quickly notices the cats are moving sluggishly and look incredibly frail. Luke explains they've been trapped in their burrow by the crow for far too long, prompting a worried Taki to rush over with food. However, he's unsure of what to feed such a frail creature, so Luke suggests offering some of those bunny cookies. Taki moves in slowly, maintaining a calm and gentle aura as he offers the treat. He goes out of his way to reassure the cat that the snack is perfectly safe. After a cautious sniff, the cat finally relents and devours the cookie. Almost instantly, the creature appears to be recovering its strength. It approaches Taki to show its gratitude, making him wonder if his loved by all fluffies title is working its magic. Regardless of the reason, it's clear that he now has the perfect opportunity to tame it. Taki successfully tames the forest cat and bestows upon it the name Sakura. Overwhelmed by its cuteness, Taki can't stop petting her, earning him a scolding from Luke for making that ridiculous face again.